This is Zane, Brian, Brandon, and Sean representing Team Java 1000, and we are going to talk to you about Lambda expression. Lambda expressions is part of Java 8, which was released in March 18th, 2014. It is considered by the community to be one of the most significant releases. Why does Java need Lambda expressions? Lambda expression allows you to create local standalone functions that can be passed as arguments or return values of function calls. Lambda expression allows Java to act like a functional programming language. With Lambda expressions, you can create a function and call it in the same instance, allowing standalone functions. This is how you would have functions in Java pre-Lambda expression. Notice how many lines of code there are. We first have to create a function inside a class, and we haven't even called it yet. You would then have to create an instance of that class and call the function, making sure we have the correct name of the function, as well as the correct number of arguments. Lambda expressions are functions without declarations, so are anonymous. While this means you can only use them once, it allows you to call the function the same place where you create it. Here's the general format for Lambda expressions. The arguments, separated by an arrow, a simple dash and bracket, are directly substituted into the body of the function. The argument section is optional, indicating a void function, or can contain any number of arguments separated by a comma. The body can be a single line or a block of code. Here's a simple example of a Lambda expression. Here we have two strings getting compared to each other in a single line. The main reason for Lambda expressions is to implement functional programming into Java where none existed in the beginning. Additionally, with how it is currently implemented, Lambda expressions is simplified for easy coding. Lambda expressions allow for code to be simplified, as one does not need to repeatedly type up code to execute the same function. Here are the syntax rules for Lambda expressions. There is a ton of mutability and flexibility to Lambda expressions, as Java assumes a lot of the left out requirements through the compiler, which simplifies the job of the coder. The optional parts allow for the coder to let the code find where the code should be and what gets passed into the code. However, the simplification on the code means there's less control, as many parts of the expression is figured out in the compiler instead of being explicit. Now here's an example why Lambda expressions are more convenient. As one can see how rigid the old looping is with a for loop, which is static in nature, with the Lambda expression below, it can see a simplification of the code and a more streamlined, understandable path from before. Lambda expressions are very flexible in its syntax and are capable of evaluating many different types of expressions to suit your needs. Functionally, it is similar to an anonymous function that can be called only once, but with simpler syntax. A limitation of Lambda expressions is that it can only be used once. If you find yourself repeating the same Lambda expression, use a member function instead, and only use the most recent version of Java, Java 8. With the introduction of Lambda expressions, Java now includes some of the streamlined nature of functional languages, improving ease of use of your code and making it easier to follow. Lambda expressions are a great adaptation of modern functional programming languages into a classic legacy of programming language, increasing productivity and readability of small sections of your code.